Hey y'all, it's Renegade, and it's time to spill more Reali-Tea on all things RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 10. We're in the midst of the Tournament of All-Stars, so make sure you like and subscribe for more, as you're not going to want to miss a single drop of content this season. On this podcast, all good things must come to an end, and, so do horrible things like the purple bracket. So we're going to discuss their final improv challenge, as well as every decision made, or every decision that was even insinuated here, that led to the qualification of the last three semi-finalists. But before I do, I can't do this without my co-host, and while I've definitely been told much worse by way better, let's hear him out anyway. It's Quacker Jack. Jack.
Hey!
We made it. We're alive. We survived the purple bracket. Now that we've seen, the whole story here, and we've had a few days to reflect on what we saw, I gotta ask to start out here. Was purple as terrible as we thought it was? Because I think it was.
No, it really wasn't. There's been a lot of unnecessary hate to a lot of the queens, which isn't cool, but really with Ginger Minj, I want to point out, I'm not like her biggest fan or anything, but she does deserve her spot. As much as people are like, she didn't win a single challenge, like, I think it's pretty well aware that she won at least 2 challenges, and that's just saying, like, yes, there was favoritism, yes, that happened, like, but she didn't control that, she didn't force them to do that. She did a great job, though, overall in the bracket. I would say it's a far cry from someone saying that it was like she wasn't gonna go through. Like, on her merit alone of what she did in this bracket, she definitely made through. Like, come on. And let's be real, there were some really questionable things happening in this bracket in all of the challenges, especially by Alyssa.
I mean, if I could be honest here and kind of hear me out here, right? So Orange starts out, and we have pretty much like 3 people that are like front running, right? It's kind of like the ideal situation of how you would think the bracket system would go, and there's no real competition other than the whole situation where the Melanin Alliance made things equal and whatnot. But the 3 people you expect to go in, kind of they make it out. Pink bracket comes in, all chaos is let loose, right? Complete opposite of orange. Then we get to kind of purple, and I think the issue here is, and I've been going through a lot of the polls, it feels like, honestly, everybody in this bracket did really well in the eyes of the viewers, other than Alyssa. So, I would say I think that's the difference here. Is that I think the purple bracket, there's really just everybody kind of has their own opinion of how it should go down, and I do believe that Ginger definitely deserves her spot. I do think there was a couple wins here and there that should have gone to somebody else, that maybe they didn't need to push to give her every single win here. But I do think there really is an argument for on 5 out of the 6 queens making it through. So I do think that is where the kind of issue is that I don't think we've had this level of competition in other brackets as we've had in the purple bracket. So I'm kind of curious, do you think that might play a role in it here? Because I mean, like, Acid Betty, or sorry, to just fast forward here, you've already seen the episode, it's been a week. Queens like Acid Betty, Denali, they did not qualify, but they did amazing throughout the season, and there's definitely reasons that you could justify why they could possibly be there instead of maybe a Daya Betty or a Cuckoo. I really do feel like it's probably the most equal of the brackets.
Personally. I so far disagree with that. Because I really want to say that, like, I think Ginger earned her spot, and I think Daya earned her spot, definitely. I think, without a doubt, these 2 100% earned their spot. I know people don't like Daya Betty, and they have opinions on her, but based on her performances in, like, the challenges, she was one of the most consistent, and I think she easily won her 2 challenges that she was awarded the wins on. I don't think, like, you can really get into this and be like, oh, she did a bad job, because she never did a bad job. And I think that's important to look at. I think everyone is, they're allowed to have their own opinions, but I think to say Daya did a bad job is just, that's bias hate. That's like the same.
It's not to say that Daya did a bad job. It's to say that Acid also did a great job. Denali also did a great job. Cuckoo, in certain performances other than this episode, did a great job. This was
Let's
a
break
lot
that
more
down.
even than the other brackets, is what I'm trying to say here.
I
Is
don't
that
think I
it's
agree
a
with
little
that.
hard. Well, you're also like the biggest, other than Tina Burner and Ginger Minj, you're also the biggest
Oh man,
Diabetes fan ever of all time, and so
I
it's
do
like
love
it's kind of
Diabetes. She's
hard
great.
to say, because I know we're gonna get into a conversation later on this episode where we don't see eye to eye whatsoever, and a lot of it I feel like has to do with the fact that you love Daya, which is fine because I love Denali too, and we're both allowed to have our biases and whatnot. But I also am able to kind of check it and be like, yeah, I know I feel this way because of this and because I don't like said individual. But I do think I could really see the fact or see an argument for everybody making it through to the next round other than Alyssa. And I'm kind of shocked that that you can't say that you don't see an argument for. I mean, other than Cuckoo, you probably would say Cuckoo
I
probably
don't
wouldn't be
see an
the one came
argument for
through.
Cuckoo,
Okay,
and we can get
but
into that later. But
the other four,
the other three that are not Ginger Minj all have reasons they should move on. I
okay.
do think
Thank you
though
for agreeing with that. Then.
Diabetes has by far a much stronger record than the other two, though. So I think her and Ginger
Hmm.
automatically had the spots. I mean, we can get into it, but like my
Well,
thoughts are
it all
that it
comes down
should have
to
gone to Denali
subjective.
or
Is probably
Acid.
think what it comes down to. I mean, like the fact that the judges kind of play one role and everybody else is seeing a completely different show. It's all subjective. It's all what you're kind of wanting at this point,
Well,
and
sometimes it's
that's kind of
subjective.
life. And I do think when things are especially this close, that's why I think we're seeing that so many different opinions coming up from it. But yeah, let's go ahead and just kind of just jump into it here because things kind of started off right away in the preview of last week, and definitely made me worried. And all the worry that I have, kind of, I feel like it came true at that moment, at that point ceremony, because. Heading into this episode, we had Ginger at 6 points, Denali at 3, Daya at 2, and then Acid, Alyssa, and Cynthia at 1. And it kind of did feel like up until this point, everyone's goal had been to play into what production wanted, but it's very clear after that conversation before the runway of last week's episode that Acid did not want to play this way anymore. Like, just like I said, something from the jump just felt off right with that point in ceremony. And Daya kind of starts out by giving her point to Cuckoo, to which Cuckoo reciprocates, giving her point to Daya. But I gasped when both Acid and Alyssa went through with the pulling point strategy to boost Cynthia up 2 more points. And all of a sudden, Cuckoo was sitting with 4 points, while Daya and Denali are both tied at 3, despite having them both won a challenge up to this point. Which to me, I was like, what? Like, how is it possible that someone who has not won a challenge is in second place here? Jack, were you
We can
expecting
get to
that
it.
kind of to happen here at this point? Like, for this Acid Cuckoo storyline to basically end up with Acid falling on her sword and sacrificing herself to propel Cuckoo into the next round? Because I didn't think that was going to be Acid's line, or Acid's story here.
I don't know that I expected Acid to fall on the sword per se. Am I shocked that she is supporting Cuckoo? No, because we all know that they're like really good friends outside of Drag Race as well. Um, am I little? Am I happy that she went and did what she wanted? Yes, because I think it's great when queens do what they want instead of just like following orders. So I was like living, and I was like, ooh, but at the same time, I was like, I do feel kind of a way about like, and I know we talked about this before. The point system, you know, they gave the queens like half of the points essentially per bracket, and so that was a mess. And I think it's something they'll hopefully learn from in All Stars 11. It's not that I want them to push a narrative and only the queens can go through, but I just don't think it paints us necessarily a fair picture here for some girls, and I think that it was a smart strategy on Acid to do this, to allow either her, Alyssa, or Cynthia a chance, because it did seem like the other girls were going to steamroll at one point. But I think what made me most confused was the hate that Daya seemed to get from everyone after she told Alyssa that Alyssa had lied to her. And I
Oh,
kind of think
well,
that they're both. I kind of think they're. Here's the problem.
let's jump into the situation first and explain it first here before you jump into
Okay,
that here. So
okay.
that was
Let's.
actually the next point I wanted to get to here first. I didn't want to get too far ahead here, just because um, I was gonna say someone who was not happy with this all was Daya at all, your girl.
Yeah.
During Untucked, Daya asked Alyssa. Sorry, the Untucked the prior episode here. Daya asked Alyssa what her criteria was for giving her point away. To which Alyssa says she's going to give it to the bottom queen she felt was the most consistent, right? Now, Daya then tells Alyssa she can choose to give the point out away any way she chooses, but if she doesn't give it to Daya, then Daya will remember it. Well, Daya definitely remembers it because Alyssa, again, ultimately gave her point to Cuckoo, to which Daya takes it completely personally and feels like Alyssa was being fake and not true to her word, which I don't. I get why Daya would feel that she is the most consistent because she has been consistent. She is the only person out of the bottom group to have won. But if we are looking specifically at the country challenge, I do think popular opinion is that Cuckoo outshined Daya. And I do think Cuckoo did have somewhat of a good episode last week as well. So it is a situation here where Alyssa did not specifically say that she was going to give her point to Daya. And also, I do feel like the irony of all this here is Daya gave her point to Cynthia as well. So, for, Daya to get upset that she's saying that Alyssa is saying that Cynthia is not or is consistent, but Daya to be upset that, and when she already gave her point to Cynthia as well too. There's a lot of I don't know. It feels weird that you're going to project your personal feelings and biases on somebody else when yes, we do understand there are judges' critiques, but we also know that the judges' critiques are not always correct sometimes. So for them to say, "Oh yeah, the judges are giving me the best critiques," blah blah blah. Yeah, I think everybody is entitled to make their own personal opinion, and if Alyssa feels that Daya is not is or sorry, if Cuckoo is more consistent than Daya, that's Alyssa's prerogative. She never told Daya she was giving her point, so I don't understand why Daya would not let this go, because she comes after Alyssa literally multiple times during this episode, bringing it up not only at the initial meeting, their morning meeting before they get the message from RuPaul, then right before the runway, and then again during Untucked, and it's just like did you not get it the first time that Alyssa said it? I do think there is a perspective here where Daya feels that maybe her feelings are being disregarded, but I just think it was a really bad look for Daya to just constantly bring it up over and over and over. And then for that point, ultimately at the end of the day, to not even matter. But Jack, um, go ahead and defend your girl Daya, because I want you to
Well,
justify her side.
I just want to give a different perspective on this situation because I think there's a lot to be said here. Specifically, when you look at some of the points being made. Okay, so first things first, she tells Daya, I'm giving it based on the girl who's most consistent. One of the things that I find really interesting is that Alyssa Hunter used the critiques of the runways and what they wore on the runway. So not just the judges' critiques of what they did in the challenge, but also critiques of where she straight up said, I think like looks and stuff come into it. And I was like, that's interesting because now you have done told a lie. I mean, let's keep it 100. Like, art is subjective or whatever, but not a damn bitch could have been like, you know what? Cynthia did have a better look than Daya on that runway. I was like, not knowing hell. So, it didn't fit correctly, and some of it was just really bad. We talked about that last week. It's not a big deal. That's just one point of it, right? And then another big thing that's kind of controversial in this thought of like who should get Alyssa's point, blah, blah, blah. Consistency, blah, blah, blah. The first week, and this happened in every group, it kind of happened in Pink until, you know, the shade heard around the world of the stealing all the points, right? So how did the first go about always go? It was always, oh, everyone's gonna be really consistent, everyone's gonna be really congenial. Let's give it to our partners, everyone swap a badge with each other, right? But it's always the second week, right? The girl who was in the top the first week now gets shafted because they now do not get a point in the second thing. And I think that's an interesting pattern that happens a lot of the time. And in her case, Daya gave her point to her partner in the bottom who did
Daya
not
got a
get
point from
points.
Cuckoo.
Right, right. Hear me out. This is why it's important. Daya gave her point to Cuckoo. Cuckoo gave her point to Daya. Great. Okay. So then it was because that was like what was expected from Daya, as the girls had pretty much said that from the beginning based on what they had done. It was like, this is how it seemed like it was going to go. And then it was Alyssa gives her point to Cuckoo. And you're like, okay. So, and Acid gave her point to Cuckoo. And it was like, Acid never really said the criteria of which, right? And everyone knows they have like a really close relationship, and Alyssa has a really close relationship with Cynthia, so it's like, okay. But what I think is really difficult here to understand is like, now it's very apparent what is going on, because now it's not about who's doing the best in the competition. This is now a warning to Daya that, hey girl, your spot is not safe in this competition, because now it's going to be between you and Denali, and it seems like Cuckoo's going to get a free ride to the top, right? In terms of, the girls are basically like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Like, we're all going to play a fair game. Well, all of a sudden, it's not a fair game anymore. And now Dai is realizing, oh shit, the other three have an alliance, and they're just going to push Cuckoo to the top. So now she has to realize that does not matter how well she does, it could come down to these final points, and she has to try to figure out a way to get her sisters to see that she's worth a point, right? And I think for her, she feels like Alyssa was the only person she kind of knew from her season, right, that came into this group. And it's like, so it's kind of weird because they didn't really have this alliance that a lot of the other girls kind of seem to start with, right? And so unfortunately, she like is realizing, so what is actually consistent in my mind versus what's consistent in Alyssa's is complete opposites. And I think the big thing is, I don't think either of them are technically wrong. But it kind of becomes difficult when Daya constantly tried to make her point and she kept getting interrupted. She never got to talk all the way through the point without someone interjecting. And I think those things, especially when you come from a background where that happens a lot in your life, like you see that as like a big sign of disrespect. It's like it feels like an attack. You get immediately on the defensive, and that's what it kind of seemed like Daya was doing. It wasn't so much to be mean, it was more so Daya felt like she was having to defend herself. And I think what needs to be like looked at there is the way in which she felt like she was being disregarded by the other girls in that moment. Not that I'm saying that Alyssa is wrong. Again, I think they're both correct. I think they just have different views of it. Because Alyssa doesn't have to give her point to Daya. But the idea that it was based upon consistency was kind of some bullshit. So, I mean, like, all tea, all shade, you're giving it to Cynthia because you want someone to go through and you know you're not going through. So, you can give it to Cynthia, who has the best opportunity, I guess. Yes, Cynthia may have outperformed Daya in this one challenge slightly. If she feels that way, she feels that way. On the runway, Daya ate her up. And she considered the runway really important. So then it wasn't considered. So I feel like there's just different ways to really interpret what's going on here. But what I think is most important from this drawback is like at the end of the day, not only did Alyssa kind of become smug at what was happening, but also at Ginger. So I think that initial also reaction to her kind of downplaying Ginger's win in the lip sync also made Daya probably feel like if she thinks the winner of the week wasn't deserving, and she's not going to give me her point, what is she saying about me? And
I
at
was
that
gonna
point,
bring
we
that up
knew.
too about Ginger. Is Ginger in her feelings? Is Ginger the same thing? Is she just making a big deal about nothing, being in her feelings about this? Because she has six
Yes and
points.
no.
Why?
She does
Why
have a
does it
lot of
matter?
points. Okay, so here's why it matters, right? At the end of the day, Alyssa is allowed to feel those things. I think it's more so about how Alyssa said the thing about the situation in the lip sync. It was more like Ginger didn't have the moment to really like get congratulated by the girl. She was immediately told like you shouldn't have won that lip sync.
Based on
You
the
know,
edit that
and
we saw, we don't really know for sure.
right. I
Didn't they
mean, it
congratulate them backstage, like beforehand, like when they're
well,
walking
the
back on the main
girls
stage before they give them the points and stuff like that? They're like, "Yay!" And then they pin themselves and they come back in. Like I'm pretty sure they said congratulations or something to her in the back.
I think it's more of a
But
like there's always that time after everything has passed, they've gotten off the runway and they go sit down at the couches before the points. That is the time really like that, like how in the normal seasons you look at the people the next day after and they get in the group and they're like, congratulations to you girl for getting your challenge win, and like congratulations to you girl for winning your lip sync for your life and still being here, and they ask them how they both are kind of thing. I think it was very much that, but that didn't happen. And I think Ginger was
mm,
in her feelings. Now, did she have to care that much? No, because let's be real. Ginger's making it through. She has 6 points. She was locked at that point. There was just no way, right? There was no way two girls, or I'm sorry, three girls were going to get ahead of her. Like, I mean, technically there probably was a mathematical way, but that wasn't going to happen.
I mean, true
Like,
with this group, and you have girls sacrificing themselves left and right for other people. So, like, I
right,
mean, I understand why Ginger and Daya are in their feelings. It's just I feel like it's just like a complete difference of like Denali. Like I feel like she is like should be the one in this position right now to feel like some type of way. And she just feels like very just humble and courteous and trying to like be the most positive person there. That's why what ultimately happens to her does feel like it kind of hurts because it does feel like she's trying to take the high road a lot of the ways, and it feels like Dai is just beating this dead horse over and over again, and Ginger is just like she's clearly making it through, and she's still in her head about her feelings. I don't know. It's I get it's competition, and you know we're all justified in our feelings regardless. It's just sometimes like you have to look at like certain situations and be like, God, like don't you feel like a little silly for yourself, like looking back at that, like getting in your feelings for that, like that's all I was just trying to say there about it. Like it's like ultimately like Daya made this big deal about it, and that one point didn't even matter for her because she ends up doing well in the challenge. Like so. It's just very much so just it's funny how this format with these MVQ points it does feel like to some degree, yes, that you can if people are willing to sacrifice themselves. That it does kind of break the format, but like ultimately, if you're just doing well in the challenges, that's kind of really all you kind of have to do. But like the scary part is what is Rue looking for, and are you that girl that she's willing to push through? you know.
right. I mean, you could, in Daya's Betty's situation at least, right? She was not guaranteed a spot. If she did not get the top two, she was basically guaranteed she was not making it into the into the next week, right? Because she now went from what she thought was going to be second place to now she's in tied for third. And it was like, okay, Ginger has won both these lip syncs, so those extra points are out the window for everyone, right? And so it's kind of one of those weird situations where like at least she had a good reason. I mean, it did end up going working out for her, but at the time, like if I had been her or Denali and I was cut, kind of thing after watching what some of these other girls did, I'd be pissed.
I
And I mean,
feel like
Denali
diet
is
in my head
pissed.
is like what I want to do and how I want to react, but I feel like I would have to take the Denali route just because that's just, you know,
Mm, I don't do
I just
that. I
I don't
I
want
like
to
the
I don't want to
villain
like we were
edit.
having a conversation about this a while ago, and I was just like I don't necessarily like I don't mind necessarily being in my feelings and making good TV and whatnot, but I also don't want to just be remembered for terrible TV moments, you know. Like
Well, I mean, look
I
at like
want if it's gonna
Mistress.
be if it's gonna be crazy, yeah, I want it to be like a crazy like mistress moment where it's like I make a move and people are upset about it, not me kind of being in my feelings about something and then kind of like I don't know, just like I just feel like the reception like towards Daya it's really hurting her. And if she does like happen to get a chance to be like in the top two, like this could be one of those episodes where like people are like not going to do hashtag Team Daya anymore because of how they interpret the way she acted here. And it's like things like that are just kind of unfortunate. But it's also like I do appreciate her being real in it. It's just
Yeah.
I wish she would act a little differently because I know people like coming from competitive scenes, like I know people that are just extremely competitive, and it's like sometimes it's not the best look, and it's like I understand it, but it's sometimes just watching it back, you're just kind of like ugh, ugh, just it's a little cringe, just a little cringe.
It
I
can
get it,
be,
but it's
but
cringe.
I appreciate the realness that girls give, and I don't like those pageant answers. Like I've always been someone to like I understood taking the like nice route and everything, but honestly, I kind of feel like Denali got a little bit of her. Oh, okay, how do I say this in the nicest way? It's not that Denali did anything to Ginger, right? I mean, she felt a way in her feelings because she was like, I felt like I won that 100%. And she told us that she, had to leave that stage. And, she was like, I had a decision to make. Was it going to be this or that? And clearly, yes, she made that decision. But I don't think she did that at first, right? And I think when Alyssa Hunter made that comment to Ginger about her not deserving it, that was Denali being like, oop, and the girls are agreeing. And so she got a little bit of that without having to actually say anything. Not that I'm saying she's like saying anything bad about Ginger. I just think that that has to also be taken into consideration about her feelings are becoming validated by the other girls in the room. Whereas Daya and Ginger are now like, oh, maybe I'm not like respected or seen well by the other girls in the room.
The
And,
situation with Denali, though, it felt always kind of weird because, like, like it did feel like it was kind of Daya and Ginger, Alyssa, Acid, and Cuckoo together as a trio, and then just kind of
mhm,
Denali there. Like, she was trying to, like, reach out to Acid, a little bit, and she kind of had a little bit with Alyssa, but she was never able to, like, truly, I feel like, break into anybody until, like, the very end
yeah,
where it felt like she got Alyssa's support. So, like,
I agree with you 100%.
it was just
Denali was just in a
it was
bad
really
situation.
sad. Really sad. I don't know. It's just sad. That's all.
I think what's also sad though for Denali is that I do think she deserves to move on, and I do think that like Cuckoo making it through is just like kind of a crock of shit. But like it's also how I just want to be honest about it. I mean, let's be
I mean, I
real.
get it. I get it.
We saw Cuckoo's outfits the whole time. We were all like, "Oh my god, trash, 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 Mary, that's trash." Girl, did you see that trash? Oh my god, did you see trash? Baby, I saw trash. Like that was how it was. The whole time we were like, I'm looking at the screen, I'm like, wait a damn minute, hold up, let me get my monocle on or something. I must have got the contacts in wrong. I don't know, something's going on there. But it just ended up being her outfits were just that bad.
Well, and I
And
think. Oh, go ahead. Finish your point. Because I was
oh
gonna
no,
say,
it was
speaking of
just
looks, I wanna talk about some looks here.
well, we can get to that. I was just saying, I was like, at the end of the day, you just have to realize that she can't dress herself, baby. Like,
Who?
I don't know what she's doing, but clearly everyone in the room was thinking the same thing. And the only people supporting her were those girls living in delusion like Alyssa Hunter, thinking she did well in some of those challenges. So,
I mean, I will still say that I could see a world, and I'm still kind of, I need to really go back and forth and really think about it. But I could see a world where Cuckoo actually won the country challenge. But like, you're
that
right.
one,
Like, look
sure.
wise, everything else, a little cringe. But like also at the same time though too, I do want to say Cuckoo does have a very positive energy about her. And she does seem like she's extremely supportive of all the other girls. And watching her in other media forms, I do get that she is probably an extremely,
She's very
sympathetic,
nice.
ex- right. And I do feel like sometimes, that is, especially in today's world, and especially after watching Squid Game season 3, like sometimes, just being the nice person and doing what it takes to move humanity forward. I think that's sometimes that might be all it takes. I don't think that was all it
Well,
took here, but
it's
sometimes.
RuPaul's Drag Race, not like RuPaul's Best Friends Race, and
It's not the squirrels games. We're not the
it's
squirrel
not
games.
Squirrel Games. It's not Squirrel's Best Friend
Ugh.
Games. It's not be the most empathetic, nicest person ever. Because Cuckoo is the greatest, like nice person. She's extremely supportive. All these things to her things, and I love that for her. I love that she's such a kind light for everyone, and I do think she deserves respect. But at the same aspect, like, it's a competition for $200,000
Right,
and like the
and
title.
it shouldn't be about necessarily who the cast likes the most, but then again, like at the same time though too, would Mistress have gotten the points she needed to get through if she didn't trick people based off of the social relationships with the MVQ points?
No, she wouldn't have.
Right.
Because
So,
they don't like Mistress, even if they say we're willing to give anyone a point. No, they weren't.
well, let's not talk about Mistress here. Let's go ahead and talk about your favorite portion of the podcast here, Jack. And that's the
Oh goodness.
runway. And that means it's time for this week's Yes or Mess. The category is paper dolls. And I really liked this concept. I
Oh,
don't
this
know
is
if I
amazing.
necessarily know if I liked 100% of the execution here
You sure
from all
didn't.
of the girls here. Like this had the potential of being one of those categories where everybody served, and I was just like, oh, oof. Jack, did you like this category?
I love this category. It took me back to like the paper ball from season 8, and I
Yes.
thought how great of a choice to like not make a paper ball, but giving that girls the opportunity to now make it look. It's kind of recycling an idea, right, in a way, but not really, right? Like not really recycling a look,
Well, because they don't have to
or a
do this in
category.
24 hours. They do this at home and then bring it. So completely
Right.
different.
And
Completely different.
it gives everyone an opportunity like to do these things. And I think reusing like these categories is such a good idea though, because come on, let's be real. After season 8, girl, we're already past season 17, so of course it's perfectly fine to use that. Don't do Thousand Nights of Miley again, but right. So we get to this runway and we got some beautiful things going on. Um, and we have some horrible things going on. And I want to start with
Oh, hang on, Jack. Hang on. Hang on.
oh,
You forgot. You forgot. Because I have to lead you into it. Remember, I'm the host.
oh, are you
I
gonna
have to lead you
okay.
into it because
You're
I
right, you're
first
right.
also had to say I really enjoyed the category, loved it,
Loved it.
agreed as well that it was so much like the season 8 Baby Ball. But the fact that they got to make it at home, so it was like that on steroids. So totally get
Hmm.
it. Also, I wanted to remind everybody before we get into that, we will put the link to our ranking video. Remember, we do weekly ranking videos in our shorts here, so make sure to take a look at that. If you want to deep dive into why we made it here, that's why you're going to get the breakdown right now here. So, Jack, let's go ahead and get into your standouts of the week and those who stood out for the wrong reasons.
Oh, okay. Let's just do it.
You do what you want to do here, Jack. If you want, as far as I'm concerned, I see this in tiers. I felt like there were four, like that were top tier. There was
Yep.
one kind of like maybe like slightly below that. I'm appreciating it a little bit more now, so I'd probably say maybe five top tier looks, four and a half maybe, and then one look that was just terrible. So just feel free to go in whatever order you want
You know what? Let me start with the elephant in the room. Michelle Visage not knowing the difference between the Marie Antoinette and the Elizabethan like looks. I get it. They're both European, but they are very different and you can tell. And I want to just look at these side by side really quickly. Acid Betty giving our Marie Antoinette, which is the best Marie Antoinette I think we've ever seen on the runway. So she gets
Next
her
to
saves.
Raja's.
Um, it's hard. I don't want to judge that to Raja because Raja's was from season 3, and drag has evolved so much since then, and the expectations on Drag Race specifically, that I don't think it's fair always to like. I feel like I have to
It's
put them
like
in different
judging like
categories.
Survivor 1 to like Survivor now,
Right.
right?
You
Like Survivor
can't
1 was such
judge
like
the
a
girls.
sphere of a scope. It was the original. It's hard to judge the original versus everything
Right.
else.
And things I want to talk about. Details, 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 right? Acid Betty's whole look is fucking insane. The only thing I don't think that's made out of paper on her is the shoes. And honestly, like as should not be. But can we talk about how she has these like perfectly done frills everywhere? She has these perfectly mid-length sleeves. We have this perfectly like squared off hips all the way out to the side, fans coming down through it. It looks like with this purple to pink white concept, which we see represented throughout. Her hair, bitch, that hair. I want to know how she got it here without this all breaking. Like, how many
Yes.
pieces in here without it being destroyed, blah, blah, blah. Like,
She's the only
I
one
need
that did a paper wig. The only one.
and on top of that, her paint is amazing. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And the outfit is done so well. She even has nails on. I know a lot of girls don't always clock that, but she does. And she makes it not just Marie Antoinette, but then at the back, the situation of, you know, it's not just this, it's actually like a reveal on the back, and it's not just a normal reveal, it's like something we didn't see coming necessarily until she turned around and we were like, holy shit, like eat the rich kind of thing. Like it's telling the whole like basically what happened with Marie Antoinette. This
Squid
is the
Game.
standout. Like this huge collar, this beautiful uh just flow of everything in the dress. Like there are so many places to look, but I don't feel overwhelmed. And that's such a beautiful thing to do. Now, next to that, the Elizabethan look that Ginger Minj did. She had that white face, which is very pale. That was how it was back in the day. Even Marie Antoinette did that. Yes, that is about where the similarities with Marie Antoinette and Elizabethan kind of falls off a bit, right? She has these huge shoulders, this huge pronounced collar that goes all the way around her, the back of her, and like up through her hair basically, right? She has of course a cinched waist, the breasts up, and somewhat of an hourglass shape that then takes it from hourglass to the bottom part just being huge. And maybe that's the part where there's a little bit of like, well, this is the Marie Antoinette because the bottom part got huge. No, it's a dress, right? Like it's a dress. It does have structuring in it. That is an important thing. It's the structuring inside of this. And not just that, the
That's like saying
chain.
that Alexis Mateo's backyard picnic look is Elizabethan because it's structured at the bottom. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's more structured around the hips, right? And that's like kind of the big issue here. But you see this like picture of William Shakespeare and then all of these quotes and books and pieces of paper from literature that he had done that was about like queer or cross dressing or anything like that kind of thing that were mentioned all over. And so it's this paper gown thing. It's beautiful. She has this book and the like the quill that you would typically write with. And so it looks really good. And she has this pulled back hair, kind of looking like um a queen, but giving a little more fantasy, thinking of Queen of Hearts kind of thing from Alice in Wonderland. I'm not
Mhm.
fully sold on this whole pearl thing going on her. So there are a couple
You
things that
don't
I
want
would
a
change
pearl
about this
headband
look.
instead of a pearl necklace?
No, and I just I wasn't a huge fan on that, and I wasn't a huge fan of the makeup, but it was good in its own right. It was different than Acids, and I want that to be like so far known.
I hate
Now,
to say that it's like good for Ginger, but it really was good for Ginger. Like it is an elevated look for her, and I do think we need to kind of respect that to some degree. You know, like she is bringing way more style than she has on any other season. Like, look at her, like the light up fucking alien that she did. You know,
Yeah, girl,
like the fashion toad, the design look where they're attached by the bubbies. You know, like Ginger is not a fashion queen. This is really good for Ginger.
I don't want to say it's just really good for Ginger, but because I don't think that's necessarily fair. But I think another thing that you have to think
Okay,
about with
it's really good in
this,
general.
it is really good in general. There's a couple things I want to change, but I mean, we all have our different personal style, I guess, right? But this is not something that you're going to clock and say this is terrible. I know some people are, but it's just the Ginger hate. Now, what I will say is that it's not like my favorite of the week, but it's well done. It's fun. Any of the girls could have done something like this, but Ginger was smart because she was able to use her body for this in a way that I don't think a lot of the other girls could have, because you got to have tits and ass for that, and a lot of these girls do not have that. Now, moving on from there, I want to talk about a girl who really showed up and showed out. It had a stunning piece. Denali, bitch, how did she get this here? Like,
Right? I feel like that's
I
broken the
I
this
need
would
to
have
know
broken
how
the
these girls
airport.
are doing it. This was amazing. The only thing that I had an issue with Denali's look is I kind of felt like the dress was a little short. I felt like if she had, just either if she had bent over. I mean, it is made in paper, so maybe I should be a little lenient here, but it's a little short. I love that she's showing off her legs. I love that she has this small strapped heel. It matches. It's very good. I didn't find the print and the dress to be very mesmerizing, because like all of that red into the black, right? Like, and that part just being black or whatever, it really is well done to really make our eye go to that focal point of all this red and what is encompassing her. And it's beautiful. It's her culture. I think this is a great outfit. I would have maybe gone a couple inches longer on the dress length, but that's the only thing for me that I was really like, I would change this for sure.
I think it's because everybody else kind of did like a really Acid and Ginger specifically did the, and even Alyssa too as well, did these kind of big bold statement pieces. And so it's like, yeah, she has the big gigantic fox around her, which is amazing, but it does kind of leave a little bit more to be desired for the rest of the outfit. So I do kind of get what you're
Yeah.
saying there. I like how I do love the kind of details that she did with it. If it was like a situation where she like actually took the fox off and then like danced around and whatever with it. But we knew this wasn't a reveal outfit, so she definitely could have gone a little bit more extravagant, I think, with this, especially because I don't think her other outfits that she, yeah, the Miley, the Miley definitely wasn't like a real true dress, you know. Um,
Yeah.
the Wicked Witch, okay, sure, yeah, but not really. Like that was actually a little bit more body fitting, I feel like, than like she could have gone somewhere like had she done something a little bit more like Acid or Ginger did with something a little bit more extravagance to it and a little bit more definition to kind of make the bottom half of everything feel like it wasn't so, top heavy with just her carrying the fox. I do think this would have been a top tier like ageless look. It really is, honestly,
Definitely.
with just the fox alone. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do see what you're saying there. That like just I do want a little bit more from the actual outfit itself.
I love the color scheme. It's perfect. That being said, I want to move on to who I think had the best look of the week. And I know it's gonna be no surprise to anyone, but I think this is so fashion forward. I think this is so beautiful. I think this is so well done. The details are everything. Daya Betty gagged the shit out of me. This
Mhm.
is so fucking smart. And what I think makes this so fucking smart is the layering, the ombre effect, how long this must have taken. I think I saw online that I think Utica did this for her. And another thing
There
that's
was a
really
few people.
important.
I think one of the queens at Roscoe's, was it Cara? I think Cara said that she helped as
Oh,
well
she
too.
did too. Oh, so she got multiple girls to help her.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
smart. That's smart because this looks like it took a
Hmm.
long time, but bitch, it was done right. And there's so many details about this. The fun, like small. I don't know how she did small drag hair and made me so interested in it. I was gagged. She had these two like little antennas coming out of it. She covered the whole goddamn shoe everywhere, right? Everywhere. And I was clocking some girls like, okay, they covered part of their shoe, but the heel wasn't. And I was like, okay, okay. This was beautiful. The whole silhouette here is so unique. The shouldering, the huge collar, still showing off her height and her legs, the beautiful glove gauntlets things we have going on here. It is an absolute masterpiece. I love how she did her body. I love that this is like that unique style of drag. Like if you saw this outfit, you would know that it was Diabetes in this group. If you were like, whose outfit is this? You knew it was hers because this is her style, this is her brand, and I think that's really important when it comes to girls and really having that it factor is just having this brand of who you are. I'm not saying that she won't wear a dress from time to time like that Miley look, but even that Miley look, she somehow made it her own. And I think I really appreciate that. But this is just elegance. It is va va voom. It's everything correct. Like tens, 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 bitch. This is one of my favorite looks I've ever seen. The only thing I would maybe do differently is maybe lessen the gap between the panels at top where the breasts are supposed to be. Um, just because of how it placed on her body in certain pictures, but it didn't even matter, girl. It was such a like that was like the only thing I could think that I maybe would do slightly different, but maybe that would change it enough that I wouldn't like it as much. I don't know. This was just gorgeous.
Yeah, I
Nothing I could
agree.
say about this.
Absolutely. It's one of those things where it's like Daya acted so terrible all episode, then she walked out with this, and I'm just like, oh my god, I hate you, Daya. And you're right. She definitely does have a signature style. I think back to her finale performance on season 14, where she did the kind of bug inspired look here. I don't know any other girls that kind of do bug really. Like there's aliens, but I don't think we have like really any girls that do like bug like Daya does. And this is just an amazing look. I love the gold color and just all the little details to it, and just you're right, the ombre effect is so awesome on this too. The one negative I've heard about it is the fact that people don't like the fact that she actually like stuck it to a corset, but like girl, like what else are you gonna do? Like you're like you can't just like. Do you really expect them to come out here with an outfit just that it is literally just paper? I'm pretty sure even on like the paper ball they had a corset that they could stick stuff to. So like, whatever.
I would be shocked.
That's such a
I would
dumb
be
critique,
shocked if the inside of some of these outfits were only paper. I wouldn't believe it,
right?
girl.
That's what I'm
I know there's
saying.
fabric or something somewhere for structure reasons.
Exactly. Like
I'm
there's
like,
just no way you could
that's another reason
structurally
to
do it
hate on
correctly.
her. Like, it's whatever.
We
We
do.
have
We
Alyssa
have another
Hunter's
one.
look.
Oh my bad.
I Baby, I was loving this whole sculptural look, the white and blues. It was so beautiful, but there was a couple things I noticed about it that I clocked a little bit. All right, let me get into it. This theme is so well done. This paper mache kind of thing going on. These thorns pointing out, the shoes matching in the thorns theme. The thing that I was upset about the shoe though, she didn't wrap the heel of it. And I was like, oh, it would have been perfect if you just put that there. Like it's a small detail, right? But it's something that gets these looks like really bring it 100% together. And another thing that really kind of was like, to me, is this middle panel and her, what I guess you might call a skirt. Baby, this length was incorrect. What was done here was weird. She has these huge shoulders and arms, and then these kind of like small gloves. that kind of felt a little strange, but I saw the vision. I was like, okay, this makes sense. And then she has something coming off of the right side of her hip. And I like that there's the asymmetrical look because it's asymmetrical on top, but it still felt almost symmetrical because of how it was placed, right? But it's clearly asymmetrical based on how many horns or spikes there are. But this bottom section, something was out of whack for me here. I don't know how she necessarily needed to fix this, but it just felt like so much effort was put into everything else. And then I got to that skirt part and I was like, did we run out of paper? Like it's no hate because this is a beautiful look. It really is like that draws my attention there because that's the only place that's not covered, right? Everything else
It
is
it does
covered.
feel like something's slightly missing on it, right? Yeah, and I think that is that what it is? Could that be what it is?
Yeah, something either or there's too much going on everywhere else for just this one panel to just be blank. So I love this look. I think it's great. I think just a little more editing, like it's still clearly a yes. It's just that was something that I really clocked, and the shoes specifically. I clocked the shoes on the heel.
Can
I
I say
when I
I
saw
really wish
that,
her wig was bigger too? Because I feel like her head is really small in this.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where if she wanted to do a bigger wig, that would have really helped. But the problem is she can't do a wig like Cynthia's wig, where it's like falling down. I don't think. Uh, and to do an updo like
Or
this,
pasted to the bottom of her outfit.
I think the only thing that really would have worked for me would have been a paper wig like Acid Betty's. I really think that would have been the move for this. Like that's what I think would have done it because you could have given it volume and a lot of height specifically while sticking to the brand and being and match enough, you know.
How sad that Acid Betty was the only one to do a paper wig, but then like forgot the paper shoes. Why, Acid? Why? But you know,
No, I don't
I
think
think
that's
one
at all.
person literally forgot their outfit at home. And Jack, again, we're going to ask you now again because we were talking about it and we were saying that it was Nicole Page Brooks for the eight ball that was our current golden boot of the season. Is that currently true now that Cynthia has taken the stage in her paper doll look?
So here's something I want to point out. Cynthia brought this look, supposedly, right? That look was made by Nicole Page Brooks. Not that Nicole Page Brooks was like killing it in the look category on everything, but her bad look kind of thing was something she made with random materials that she was assigned, right? It wasn't like she had detailed this out, had these thought process, and did it. Cynthia looks like she woke up at the elementary school that she's residing in, right? Because she couldn't find an apartment, so she's living in the boiler room at the elementary school. It's right next to the janitor's closet that has the extra art supplies because they can't fit it all in the art room and all the students. You know, everyone's overpopulated. They only got so much space for everything, right? You know, those huge rollers that had a bunch of that construction paper on that the girls would go down and get, and they would like bring it back to the classroom, or they would assign certain kids to like go get some for everyone in the room or whatnot. That's what it looks like. She found some
She
of that. She
fell in
said,
it.
"Oh, girl." She found that green. She said, I know what I'm going to do this season. I'm going to use that. Somehow, some way, she decided that was going to be the idea of part of her outfit. She said, I'm going to make it into the cancer remission that I'm in. Somehow, some way, I'm going to make this a thing. So she makes the most crappy, disgustingly looking folded all over like it had been rolled up and she forgot to undo it or make it correct. She forgot that paper crinkles clearly and she made herself a shitty looking ribbon above it. And she said, "You know what? I need something else." So she went down to the local store. She went to Party City, baby, looked in the clearance rack for all the paper. She just stole it out about it and just glued it all over and said, if I just put all these green balls all over and that's covered in paper, it's paper, girl. So that's automatically it. And they're going to eat it up because who's going to say something bad about my cancer look? And bitch, it's me. I'm saying something bad about your cancer look. It's trash. It's garbage, mama. This was found in the clearance rack. No, no, no. This was the clearance rack stuff that was getting thrown out by the company because they were no longer carrying it. Plus that little
Oof.
disgusting ass thing that you got off the elementary school construction paper cutter. Like I couldn't. I was so disgusted with her. I thought immediate elimination, girl. She should have been packed up immediately right there. They should have said, we don't have eliminations this season, but you know what, we're making an exception for you. Goodbye.
That's so hateful, but true. So true. I sent you a DM, Jack, really
Yes,
quick,
I
because
see
I don't
this
know if you saw
image.
this. I don't know if you saw this, but like apparently this is what it's supposed to look like, or maybe like her like after the fact look, and I'm like, this look is really not bad, not as
I'm still
hateful,
not giving it.
but
It's
like it's the giant collar on this. I'm like, okay, this is cool, but I'm like, why did she decide to instead go with like a breast cancer ribbon instead of this gigantic collar? Because these are not the same looks. It's like she went home and she's like, I'm gonna take photo shoots of all my looks, but then she had Acid Betty look at all of her looks beforehand and then change everything, and then she decided to post a photo shoot with a completely different look.
I want to say that it is liver cancer. This was correct. Like that's the color for liver cancer. So she was right about that.
Well,
She gets her points, but I mean, with the image you sent me, literally the balls are not sitting the same. I don't even know that they're the same balls here. There's something going on with her shoes. Everything is going crazy here, and this is not it.
it's a
This is
completely
not
different
anything.
look. It's like I don't know. I don't know what she
And she's got a
posted.
bunch
This
of
is
shit
not the look.
underneath. She's got a whole black bodysuit on underneath, girl. This wasn't she no. Maybe like acid made this for her. Because I don't know if y'all saw the preview, but Cynthia finally looked good for once, and it's
For
because Acid Betty made her look.
once. Alright, so let's go ahead and we could get into this week's Maxi Challenge here. I don't really have that much to say about it, but we do have Fire Islands from 2022, by the way. Like, we're bringing this up like this is some gay masterpiece, by the way.
It's a great movie. I watched it. It's a good
It was
movie.
good. It was good, but like, why are we bringing this up like this is a masterpiece or something? It ain't no Tu Wong
I,
Fu, okay?
I do
Um,
feel like it was good. I feel like it was amazing. Actually, I felt like it was great.
okay, well, I will say what was great was Zane Phillips from that movie was here, and I was kind of like, okay, he's pretty hot. I wasn't really feeling the fact that they dressed up like a dog, and that they decided to do this whole like dog dating show from the Bishler, we'll call it, just to not get demonetized here. Um,
The
but
Bachelor.
in this one, they're going to go in groups. They're going to go on dates, in groups of two, and try to embody a different breed of dog and carrier type. I thought it was a little cringe that they decided to make it a dog themed challenge. I was kind of hoping for them to just be, regular people like the first one, and maybe just have the Bachelor be old. I get why they went the direction they did because it is a clever play on words, but I still think it was a little cringe. Um, did you like this idea concept here, Jack?
No, like I said the other week, it's trash because they assign them roles, then the girls have to fill these roles, and some of them are much easier than others. So no, it's just like the first one when some girls got easy roles and some girls got harder roles or typecasted roles, I should say.
Oh, typecasted. And then there were some that felt like they got roles that were extremely specific. Like, let's go through here and let's just read like the kind of description that they were given here. So we have Acid Betty and Cynthia Lee Fontaine going on a date together, Alyssa Hunter and Ginger Minj, and then Daya Betty and Denali. And we have Acid Betty playing a dominatrix Doberman. And then we have Cynthia Lee Fontaine playing a perpetually nervous Chihuahua that she decides for some reason is also Catholic. We have Alyssa Hunter playing a frisky mutt, in parentheses, who is also a single mother of 14 puppies. Then we have Ginger Minj, which, listen to this character description, by the way. A Saint Bernard who is also a former first responder with a drinking problem. Why is that so much more specific than all the other ones? Anyway, also Daya did get a very specific one with being a purebred poodle who thinks her poo doesn't stink, and we have Denali, who also gets a specific one, but I think she gets the hardest of the more specific categories here because she's a spaniel who is an emotional support dog who happens to be very needy, and immediately I'm like, oh God, they Aja'd her. They
The
gave her
word,
the
yep,
needy
the
role.
word needy. The word needy right there. That is a hard thing to do.
It really is, and I'm like, I feel like, I mean, without a doubt, Ginger did the best, but I mean, like, did anybody else expect Ginger to not do the best here? Because I mean, like, they
They
gave
gave her
her,
the easiest role.
they did, they gave her such a great role,
That's like when
and
they gave
she's,
Kennedy the same role.
I mean, pretty much, they basically kind of made her the same person, other than the fact that Ginger is now a first responder. So, like, that's, I mean, the one of the easiest things to do, I feel like, was Ginger's role. But also, I don't want that to diminish the fact that Ginger did amazing,
Yeah, she
without
did
a doubt,
amazing. She
without a
deserved her
doubt.
win easy, but it felt very rigged in this challenge for her, clearly. I
Oh
think,
well, what else? Let's specific like other challenges are we gonna give Ginger that's not already in her wheelhouse?
I mean, here, let me go through the girls real quick because I want to talk about it. Ginger was the Kennedy messy drunk girl. It was really easy. It was fun. She did a great job, right? Denali had that Aja role where she did an amazing job, I think, right? But I don't think she necessarily got the needy part, and she fell more into Cynthia's nervous.
At least not
And
in the
here's where
first part. The first part she came out wearing that thing that said nervous, but then as soon as she got into like the hot tub, it felt like she got her character immediately.
yeah, she got her character a lot better by then, and I liked that her and Daya worked the best as pairs.
Hmm.
I don't care what no one says. They were easily the only pair that really worked together. The
They're the
other
only
girls
one I'm
were
gonna go
a
back and
mess.
watch without a doubt.
We have Cynthia who's playing essentially the role that was assigned to BB Zahara Benet. That's kind of what this felt like, and it honestly just ended up being a Catholic version of Cynthia. It
She didn't give
wasn't
nervous at
nervous.
all.
There
She
was no
was
nervousness
horny.
here.
She was praying to God, and she
She
was
was a
not.
horny virgin
Yeah, she was not doing
goth girl.
anything nervous
She
at
was
all
not nervous.
whatsoever. That's
She
why I
had
think it didn't bother me that Denali was being the nervous, because Cynthia didn't do it at all. And I was like, okay, well, if Cynthia's not going to be nervous, then like Denali kind of being a little nervous and also an emotional support doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but she didn't exactly hit the role. But the thing is, Cynthia just played
Right.
herself. It was boring. I hated it. Alyssa was so hard to watch. She wasn't funny. She wasn't listening. She did not care about what was going on. She just said, "Let me not be too over the top." But then she was too reserved because she was too in her head thinking about things.
But then
She
some of the
said
things she said
bloody
were also
things,
over the top. Like, yeah, like
and
when she
they
was talking
weren't.
about like the toy being her favorite toy, and I'm like, girl,
Yeah,
that's not
it's
funny, and
it
it's
wasn't funny.
cringy.
It was crude, and it was just like it wasn't at all anything. And also, she had so many good. I feel like this was role could have been done really well, but she just couldn't do it, and this wasn't her strength. Now,
No.
Acid surprised me because I think
Yeah.
she did a really good job at first, and then when she went on the double date with Cynthia, I think things took a weird turn, right? Because it was like the girls weren't interacting, and it felt like it was
Well, they
hard
tried
for
to
her to feel
interact.
poured
Acid
in.
tried to interact, but Cynthia
I
said no to being the Taco Bell dog,
and
or
unfortunately,
sorry, Chalupa dog.
Acid got a little quiet from being like strong. I think what was interesting is dominatrix, but also a sub. They weren't about that, but like everyone knows in that community, like you could like switches exist. So, but I won't talk about that. So Acid did a good job for the most part, but it wasn't as strong as Daya and Ginger. Oh, and Daya. She plays a poodle, which I think was honestly the only person who could play this because that outfit was only made for girls with length in their body. No offense to anyone, but the placement of some of that fur would have gone really bad on a more petite girl. But she played it extremely well. She was very uppity. She was very funny while still doing it, which isn't necessarily hard to be a funny bitch, but sometimes you can cross that factor over and be too bitchy without the funny. But I think she nailed in the right
Hmm.
position here, especially when she was working with Denali in the hot tub. I really liked how they kind of took that idea from the original tchelor on season 3 of All Stars, where Shangela and Chi-Chi were supposed to be like in a couple kind of thing. It really felt like that kind of thing going on, but they were both interested in each other and him, but they didn't really have a person to not be interested in because they were kind of finding each other as their person, and it was just a really fun thing to enjoy to watch them work together. And I think
And
Daya just did an amazing job, and I think it was correct.
another thing too that I think made her stand out as well too is that she wasn't just being the bitchy poodle. She was also doing that thing where she was pretending to be more affluent than she was, where she was like, "Oh yeah, that's a nickname that like my friend calls me." And it's like, "Oh, your friend?" You're like, "Oh yeah, my friend, my my neighbor."
Yeah,
My
she's
owner,
my friend.
or the thing where she was like,
Friend.
"Do you or do you catch things with
I don't
like
know.
your hands, your fingers, hands, paws?" you know,
Right,
like
right.
there was a little more depth to it, and I was like, okay,
There
that's
was.
where she won it for me, and I was like, okay, I could get it because she's doing a little bit more than just the shtick of whatever character they gave. She tried to do something outside of it too that wasn't
Hmm.
just the character she gave. So I was like, all right, I don't mind. I do feel like if I was to really tier it, honestly, it would be Ginger at the top. And then I would honestly say Daya, Denali, and Acid kind of are in the same level for me. I could make a case for any of them. Like I said, I think all three of them did really well, but I do understand why Daya ultimately was given the win with Ginger here. Um, and they end up lip syncing here to Junior's Mama I Used to Say. Have you heard this song before, Jack? I've heard a lot of people have not heard this song
I
before.
think I heard the song once before, but it is not a song I'm familiar with.
I want to say I've heard it too. I feel like I've definitely like I it sounds familiar. I don't know where I would have heard it, but I definitely feel like I've heard it before. I mean, I've lived far too long to have not heard this song probably in my lifetime. So, we love a boy song though every once in a while, and I love that Diet just went full out and embodied it. And I think here is where I really discovered my big issue with the purple bracket is that Ginger literally does the same lip sync for all three versions of the song. Like you could literally play the same track. You could play the Miley Cyrus track over this. You could play the Defying Gravity track over this. It'd be the
Uh-huh.
same damn lip sync that Ginger gave us here. And I'm like, I I'm kind of a little nervous because this is all literally clearly going to end with a lip sync smackdown, and there's clearly certain individuals that are given like Ginger that are given like like they're winning 2 out of 3 lip syncs when I think maybe they won 1 out of the 3.
Yeah.
And then you have someone like Irene who probably could have won maybe an additional lip sync or two in her time and then didn't get credit for it. And I'm just like, it's very clear who the people are that we're setting up to be like the lip sync assassins, for a better word here, um, with this. But either way, Ginger secures her spot here, getting 8 points. Daya secures her spot in here with 6 points. Um, was Daya's lip sync here for you the best of the purple bracket? I'm still leaning towards Denali, but I want to know your opinion because you love the Daya. So
Yes, I think Daya is. I think Daya did the best lip sync. I mean, clearly she won this lip sync. It wasn't even close. I personally still think she probably won the Defying Gravity lip sync. But I mean, I'd have to see her lip sync since they didn't show us.
ooh,
But well, that's the thing that they don't talk about. But Ginger Minj, you're right. She does really similar things on all the lip syncs, which can work, but not always for the song. I don't think that between Defying Gravity and this number, I felt like they were both very similar specifically, and I was like, that's weird because these songs are very different in my opinion.
there's
And
part of me kind of felt like maybe she threw it to give Daya the extra point too.
I don't think she threw it. I do not think that at all. I saw
She
her lip
probably didn't,
baby.
but
She
I
didn't
also
throw
felt
lip
like that
syncing.
maybe she I thought she legitimately threw last week too because she was so surprised to have won. But yeah,
I
you never
just
know.
it's just one of those things where last week she wasn't able to do all these stunts and stuff that Denali was, so she didn't. I don't think she really thought she had a chance, but she still performed, and I think she was just shocked but I think it comes from her possibly just having that inner saboteur of not trusting herself or giving herself as much credit. But with this lip sync, it was just very clear that Daya won. And, Daya is kind of like an underrated lip syncer. It's not that she could do every song perfectly, but Daya definitely knows what she's doing during a lip sync, and she has her own style, and you can see it here. And so she secured her spot correctly. And then we get to,
The worst MBQ ceremony of all time.
I wouldn't call it the
Well,
worst,
it was
but
definitely questionable. Because we get Cynthia going first, giving her point to Alyssa. Um, saying for Puerto Rico, but I think it's just because Cynthia's like, I'm not giving anybody who's actually in front of me a point. But then again, Denali does the same thing with Acid and gives them both 2 points, and they have their little moment where they're like, oh, I'm so emotional right now. I have 2 points. I'm like, well, I mean, like, at least they're not Phoenix with one. But, Alyssa, though, I think the reason why she gets emotional, I think she said it during Roscoe's, is because Cuckoo gave her point, and she knew that she was not giving her point to Cuckoo this round. She was giving her point to Denali. So all of a sudden, Cuckoo and Denali are tied with 4 points, and it comes down to Acid's point. And I wish there was a little bit more drama here. I wish I could say that I was actually expecting Acid to possibly, there was any possibility she would have given Denali her point. But it was just, the writing was on the wall that if she has the decision, she's going to send Cuckoo forward. And that's what she did. And now all of a sudden, Cynthia Lee Fontaine is joining Diabetes and Ginger Minj in the semi-finals with our orange group finalists Aja, Bosco, and Irene the Alien, as well as our pink group finalists of Georges, Lydia B. Collins, and Mistress Isabel Brooks. And my only thought at this point is, Jack, it's all your fault. All your
my
fault.
thought was,
Yeah, last
well,
week, last week we said Denali deserved the Lipsync win, just like
I don't think she did.
she deserved the win. Don't care
She
what you
didn't.
say. And had she had that point, she would have gone to a tie. And it's very clear that she's the only one that won the challenge between the two. And the fact that Denali is the only person that has won a challenge in the preliminary round to not move on, that is a shame. That is such that if she's not the wild card pick,
Not true.
I'm I'm flipping tables if she's
That's
not the
not
wild card
true,
pick.
though, girl.
No, it is so true. It is so true.
No, Tina
It
won
is
a
so
challenge
true.
that didn't go through.
Well, no one cares about Tina. If
Uh,
Denali doesn't get
so I
okay,
wanna
if
say
Denali or
something about
Tina,
this,
but mostly
though.
Denali doesn't get through, I will scream.
I don't think it would have mattered had she gotten the win in the lip sync last week or not, because in my opinion, what would have happened was we would have saw Alyssa not give Denali the point and probably give it to Cynthia, if we're being completely clear, because of how the points are. I have a feeling that Acid and Alyssa and Cynthia had all talked about it, and everyone was bringing each other back during the Untucks and having these conversations. I feel like it was kind of known what was going on, right? And so I feel like Alyssa would have made that conscious effort to give the point to Cuckoo had she thought that, her and Denali would have been tied at the end, even if she had that extra point, right?
I
So
don't
I
know
feel like
because I think
I don't
Alyssa
think it
and
would have
Denali
mattered.
ended up bonding towards the end of it. If what I'm going by like Roscoe's is, so I do think that Alyssa actually did have a genuine like affinity towards Denali, whether that's because did she wanted to kai kai with her. Sorry, to what is it kai kai? Yeah, kai kai.
Yeah, it's kind of
Kai Kai. I was gonna say Kiki. I was gonna be like, wait a minute, that's not right. That's too. That's not as dirty as what I'm looking for. Yeah, I think it might be maybe she wants to Kai Kai. I don't know, but it's very clear towards the end. Alyssa and Denali kind of formed a bond. But yeah, and that's why I kind of do feel that Alyssa might have still given her point to
I
Denali.
don't see a damn world where
I think she
Denali
might
got
have.
through here.
I
I just don't
do.
see
I
it.
think she might have. I really do.
I think Alyssa Hunter knew that she wanted to say this idea of consistency and that Denali deserved a point, but I don't think she would have risked Cuckoo's place in the competition if things had been different. I just really don't believe that Alyssa Hunter was 100% about this whole consistency thing.
You
I
just
didn't
hate
believe
Alyssa
that.
because she didn't give
I
Daya a
don't hate
point.
Alyssa. I don't hate
You
Alyssa.
hate Alyssa. You hate
I
Alyssa
don't hate
so
Alyssa, but
much,
the
just
same
as
thing
much
is
as you
you
love
didn't
Ginger
believe
Minj and
Cynthia.
Tina
I don't believe
Burner.
Alyssa. You said you didn't believe Cynthia was doing these things to give points to be nice. I thought she was, and I think Alyssa
It
just
was
wanted
to
to
be
make
nice, but she also was not going to give it to somebody that was going to get above her. Like, she was not going to give it
well,
to
yeah, of
Denali.
course not.
She was definitely not going to give it to Denali.
Well,
Like,
yes, of
right?
course
So,
not. And I
yeah,
think that
same thing.
Alyssa would have done
Same
the
thing.
same thing in the situation. I think
But
Alyssa would have
Denali
never.
also did the same thing and didn't give it to Cuckoo, and she never would have given it to Cuckoo, and I don't blame her. And I don't blame either of them for doing it.
I'm just saying, if she had won that lip sync and got that extra point, I still see more than likely Alyssa probably would have given the point to Cynthia just because they had that alliance with her, Acid, and Cynthia to make sure one of them got through. And I do think that would have came into consideration for her. So I don't think it really mattered at the end of it all. But I mean, there,
It sounds like they
we,
also assumed that Denali was just going to make it there on her own. So I'm wondering if
I-
like that played a
well,
role because Acid said
that's,
that Denali is going to fly by to the finals and
yeah,
Ginger's
Acid
basically
knew that
there.
it was going to be
So I
Ginger,
wonder if
Denali,
they
and Daya.
knew that Daya was that one if they would have given it to Denali instead.
Well, that was the thing. Acid made sure that she's like, we're going to kick one of either Dyer or Denali out of the top three. She mentioned it exactly. She said, I see what's going on here. We're going to make sure that it's not just those three locked completely. We're going to, and she specifically said Daya and Denali's name. And like, it just panned out that Daya won this challenge and Denali did not win this challenge. So it broke that tie of like both of them having one win. Now Daya has two wins. So now it's just now you've got to take the points from Denali, so you have to take her spot essentially, right? And I think that's all it
Yeah.
came down to. But honestly, when I'm looking at this lineup, I kind of, I mean, call me a mean person or whatever, but my first thought when Cynthia was going through, I said, well, someone has to go home first.
Well, I mean, and it is. We did receive official confirmation that it will be Snatch Game, and we did officially receive confirmation as well here too that it will be a single elimination for the next 2 weeks, leaving us with 7 people going into our finale, which
Hmm.
is ridiculous. And then a wild card will come back, and then it will basically be a tournament of 8 people for the win. I don't know how I feel about this. This is giving me like season 14 energy when we had like a final five, and I thought even then that was egregious with just like 5 people. But I'm like, you're literally giving 8 people out of 18. That's literally one person less than half of this cast eligible for the
Well,
crown at this point. That's crazy
well,
to me. That's crazy.
I want to bring up the fact that there's the possibility of a girl getting picked for this, like, um, this wild card. And now that we know that the girls who it seems like we know that the decision will be made after the two girls get eliminated. So I feel like it's a very likely that the girls who get eliminated in ninth and eighth place respectively have a better chance of coming back generally. The only people I can see
Probably.
bringing back is Tina and Denali because they both won challenges at least, right? Like
Right.
that's the only people I would bring back. But then there's the two girls that are probably going to get eliminated, and will they choose them over there? I could see them choosing someone who gets the eighth place person, but not the ninth place. Most likely Cynthia because she didn't win a challenge. So
Who? Yeah, I don't see a world where Cynthia makes it through Snatch Game. I'm just even looking at like the past Snatch Games that these queens have had. I'm like, she's literally I think the only one left that's been in the bottom for her Snatch Game. Like everybody else is. I mean, I guess you could say Bosco was in the bottom, but
I guess
like
you could
not
say Bosco and
really.
Daya, but if we're being real,
Yeah, they
Daya
weren't the
wasn't in
bottom
the
two
bottom.
in
Well,
those at
Bosco was
all.
really bad, but like not bad,
Bosco's really
not
bad,
bottom
but
two
not
bad.
bottom two bad at
Well, that's
all.
because so many of them
Bosco
are
was
bad.
fine
But
to me as far as I'm concerned. Like she had some cringy moments, but she was also came in with like ideas, and so I
or Gwyneth
appreciate the fact that
Paltrow was
she at
bad.
least had ideas. You know, there were some
I
people
I
who came in there and
agree
had
with
no
that,
ideas whatsoever.
but she was at least bottom three of that group, I think.
Oh, for sure. I
I just
mean, I wouldn't say bottom two, and I think and that's why I say she probably would have made it through. You know, like it
and
wasn't
that was a stunt.
that
That
bad.
snatch game was a stunt. They pulled that
It
stunt
was.
real hard.
They could have done
And
that in so many other Snatch games. I'm looking
I
at
feel
like
like
Canada 5.
especially like Daya, Betty, she probably had one of the best performances out of her group of 14 girls.
Shocking you coming to Daya's defense.
I'm just saying, if you go back and watch it, her Ozzy
It
Osbourne
wasn't that
wasn't
good,
bad.
actually. It wasn't that good. I hated
It
the fact
doesn't.
that she just stole Bosco's answers the whole time. That was literally all Daya did was steal Bosco's answers. Like,
Look,
Bosco was
that
bad,
is
and then
that
you're
is
gonna
exactly
steal an answers
Ozzy.
from somebody who is worse
Look, her
than
Ozzy was
you.
funny
Okay.
and actually got laughs. I'm just saying.
I don't know if it got any laughs,
It
honestly.
did get laughs. You can go
I
back
don't
and watch
know.
it.
I
Trust me,
mean,
girl, it got laughs.
I've already gone through for a future video here, and I already have every single Snatch
I
Game
promise you,
like
I remember it like it
cataloged.
was
I don't
yesterday.
really remember any of it. I mean, you would because you watch Diabetes stuff every single time you wake up every morning, so
I
that
do
doesn't surprise
not.
me.
I just know because season 14 was that gag where there was also that hidden lip sync that we never saw of
Yeah, I
who
don't know
was
if we'd
it?
want to watch Deja Sky though lip sync by
Yeah,
herself. Like, do we really like?
I
Would that
mean,
really have made you feel
I
better
mean,
that we ended
Deja
the
Sky is a
episode with
great
that?
lip syncer,
I
so
don't
I don't know. Did you
I don't
just
know
not
if
know
I
the
would have
lyrics?
wanted
I
to
don't
watch a
know.
solo. No, it would have been weird. I feel
I
like the
mean, would
fact
it
that
have
they
been
just call
because
a one person up and then like, hey, the rest of you are in the bottom, and I feel like that's the only time they had for the episode. But
I
I don't
mean, look
know.
at Sucking Up My
We're getting way
Ganache.
off topic though. um, oh, and we are at like an hour and 21 minutes here, Jack. So we definitely, I mean, like, it is a culmination of the first 9 episodes here. We're about to head into the final 3 episodes of the season, which it does not feel right that we're coming down to a merge
No,
and
it
there's only
doesn't.
3 episodes. I don't, I'm trying to still hold out hope here. But this purple bracket still has just kind of made me feel some type of way that it feels like we're just
I don't think it was that
marching.
bad.
What it did though is that it just made it feel very apparent who they want to be sitting at the finale, and it's not surprising to me at all if Ginger is going to be there, and I see some combination of Bosco, Georges, Mistress there. But I think that's also what I kind of said day one when I saw the cast
Yeah,
was that that would
that we
probably be the
all
final
said those
four.
four girls probably going to be the
So
top four. So I mean,
it's
they'll
a little
try.
cringy heading towards that point, but like I don't know. I'm just I wish it felt a little more natural and not as produced as it does. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, their show is getting way too overly produced, and I
it's
don't
really
see it
killing
coming
it,
down anytime soon. But like, we kind of have to accept that, unfortunately.
which makes me kind of wonder. Like the episodes like this, though, are episodes where I'm like, damn, why am I so invested in this show? Like trying to like come in here and be like, let's give like the real opinions and whatnot. When it's like we're just gonna get at the end of the day whatever they want. And it's like I get it, but I also do think that Denali kind of said it best at Roscoe's last week that two things can be true at once. A queen can be pushed by production, but that queen could also be extremely talented. So I'm trying not to let it have the backlash on the queens as it should, but it's definitely making me question a lot about production moving forward and just how willing they are to make an overly produced product that is just like on like the surface level, like anybody can see the production interference. So
Oh,
it's
of
just
course.
it's like I get older seasons have this production interference. It's very clear if you go back and rewatch some of the older seasons. It's very clear production also
Every
steps in
season
there
has
too.
production.
But does it have to be as obvious? Like, do we? Does it?
I don't think
Uh,
it's the obvious part that's the issue for me as much as it is just the way in which it makes things unnatural. It's just it's I will say this ending is still two-thirds correct, but I mean, when I look at the other groups, I could say the same thing about like ooh, Lydia, or Georges. And I feel like that whole pink group also was really messy, and there's a lot to be said about that in terms of
oh, it
production.
was.
So, I mean, I'm still watching because I enjoy the show, but at the same time, we have to realize that this is a show first, a competition second. So, girl might do the best, and not get the
Yeah.
love for it. So it's
Yeah, you're
unfortunate.
right.
But it's true.
It is. I think that's just what we need to come to terms with as a fan base is realizing that it is a show first and a competition second. So those of us that are trying to find like that one piece of gay media that that's out there that we're all invested in because of that. Um, well, sadly, it's always been a situation where Rue's always kind of pushed marketing and whatnot. Like literally go look in every single early episodes, and you're gonna always gonna hear him pushing his singles and available on iTunes and whatnot. So I'm like, Rue is not above like the campy obvious marketing ploys and whatnot. I don't think Rue is as much as a marketing genius as maybe he thinks he is, but like at this era, in this point in time, and in this as what Netflix would say, the cell phone entertainment era, where we're not even paying attention to things half the time when we're consuming things online. We're literally on our phones and multitasking and doing other things while we're watching media. Like it's very easy, I think, for them to make content like this because at the end of the day, we're gonna still come back and watch it.
You
It's
sure
just
are.
how it will go because one, it's niche in the market right now. We don't have anything else really like it. Although King of Drag has started, so I'm tempted to kind of push my way over there. But like at the same time though too, like we are kind of also trained in a lot of ways to deal with these emotional responses in a certain way, and they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They know that they're doing when they bring Denali back and then don't give her that one extra point that she possibly could need to send her through. So Diabetes' whole entire rant was not about herself but about Denali. But like there's just certain things like that I'm like, they know what they're doing. So anyway, Jack, did you have any final words here before we set off into the sunset of the season? Apparently, because we're literally, like I said, 3 episodes away from crowning a queen or queens to enter this Hall of Fame here.
You know, passion is important, and I like that the community has so much passion. Just learning to control it is important as well because passion can easily go past a line of now we're getting disrespectful and rude to queens. And I think it's great that the community is passionate about Drag Race. But again, it's remembering that it is a show at the end of the day, and we're not always going to get our way, unfortunately. And some things are subjective. So we
All
unfortunately have
things
to
on this
accept
show
that.
is subjective, honestly. You're
No,
really
no,
honestly.
some of that shit is not as subjective.
There's always going to be that one person out there, though, that will always. Doesn't matter how perfect. I could go through here and I could rank every single person's opinion, take the culmination of everybody's opinion, and make a video out of it. And there's always going to be that one person that comments it and been like, "It should have been like this and this and this," and the person on the bottom should have been on top.
Well, here's the
Everybody is
thing.
going to have a completely different opinion.
People want to be different. That's why they'll say like the girl who did the worst actually did the best in their opinion. It's not their opinion. They just want to be different. There's a few things that aren't up for debate.
Yeah,
But
I mean, if the majority feels that way, I feel that way
I mean, it's not.
in
You
certain
know, you
things.
just
Certain things.
it's like if someone told you this week, I think Alyssa Hunter did the best in the challenge. That's not subjective, baby.
Yeah,
That's just
that's
you
you being an
trying to.
Alyssa Hunter fan.
Right, exactly. Some things are subjective, most things are, but then there's those objective clearlies
That's like
that we have
saying
to
that
accept.
Diabetes did the best last week because you're a Diabetes fan. Oh, I'm sorry, Jack. I didn't mean to just offend you like
No one said she did the
that.
best last
Well.
week, not even me.
Well, Jack, this has been a journey. It's definitely been a journey. I think our longest podcast of the season here. So we'll go and we'll end it here because clearly at this point we all can't wait to see how this turns out. And hopefully you can't either, especially if you made it this far, y'all. Thank you again so much for listening, and make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and comment below because we'd love to hear your thoughts on this season. Until next time, and on behalf of my co-caster, Quacker Jack, this is Renegade signing out. But remember, keep spilling that tea, y'all. Bye.
Bye.